Welcome to this week's edition of Auto Insiders with Ray Shefska. And today we have the privilege of having a conversation with a dear friend of ours, Marcello Mastroianni from Toyota World out of Canada. And Marcello actually is the manager of a Toyota dealership. Is it in Windsor, I believe?
Close. We're a few hours from Windsor, so we're
Okay.
in, you can say Maple, Ontario, which Windsor's in Ontario, but Windsor's closer to the U.S. border. We're a
Okay.
little bit more far west, or east, I should say.
So you're in the eastern portion of the province, I take it then.
Yeah.
Okay. So Marcello has a YouTube channel called Toyota World. I would encourage anybody who has an interest of whatever the hell's going on in Toyota World to check out his channel. That's how we first got introduced to Marcello.
Correct. Yes.
And we've had several conversations over the past 2 years, I think, or so.
Yeah, it's been about that. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't want to just get into your automotive background.
Okay.
Because, I mean, what the hell? Everybody knows I'm talking to people involved in automotive because, well, the name of the show is Auto Insiders. It's not like I'm talking to the local dog catcher. But what prompted you? Let me ask you this. Did you go to university?
No.
I'm just asking.
No.
Okay.
No.
Did you think to yourself as you were growing up, I hope someday I can manage automobile dealerships?
No.
Okay, then the question becomes, what led you to working in dealerships?
What led me?
Yeah.
So I actually got into the business. Okay, let's back up.
Okay.
I didn't go to university, but I went to college for about 2 months.
Okay.
And I was in college for a subject called, I think it was called at the time, kinesiology, which has to do with like health and fitness and your
And
body and all that
muscles.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
Right. And I did that at the time because I liked working out. I was into the gym. I was young. I had lots of time. Not that I'm old, but you know what I mean. So I said, okay, let's go for this. Maybe I'll be a chiropractor. I don't know, right? Who knows when you're young, right?
Yes.
And it's dropped out like within 2 months, started working. And then this dealership just opened up. Maple Toyota opened up in 2006.
Okay.
And I drove by in 2008. I'm like, you know what? I don't know, man. I like cars. Let me try and get into mechanics. So at the time, I just literally applied, and the GM met me, and he saw me, and he's like, you can't be a mechanic. You're not going to make it, and you're not a mechanic type.
Okay.
So I didn't know whether to take that as an insult or a compliment. So I'm just like, okay, well, let's talk about sales, he said. So we talked about sales, and I was nervous. And in sales here, at least in Canada, if you don't sell and deliver, you're not making a dollar. So my biggest fear was, guaranteed pay, guaranteed income, which that was not going to happen. So I just closed my eyes. I got my license and I went into it. And then here I am, like 16 years later, and I'm still here doing my thing. I love it. It's a great business.
Now, when you started there, and I take it you didn't really have any sales background.
No.
Okay, so did they train you? Was there any type of training program, or was it like what so many dealerships in the United States do, which is, hey, there's your phone, there's your desk, over there's where we keep the keys to the car. Good luck.
Yeah.
So did they give you any training? Did they?
Not to say that there's not training. There is in-house training, but like, to be honest, it's hard to train on sales. You kind of just have to get into it, and you got to kind of have that kind of mentality and personality where you're good with people, and then the rest follows through. We had some in-house training here. We had some off-site training here to a guy that's actually heavily U.S. based. His name was, or still is, because he still does it, Dwayne Marino. and he was more on like a system of flow and how to process, customer transactions, and
Mm-hmm.
how to work the sales and close deals and stuff. We had some of that, but you know what? You can get we sent some guys, like, I've been in management now for I don't know, 12 years, 13 years. We sent some guys to a lot of training,
Yes.
and it still didn't work out. So you gotta, yeah, training's good, but that's like a small portion of the equation.
I know when I was hiring people towards the end of my career, and I
Yeah.
would hire salespeople who didn't have any previous sales experience. And
Yeah.
I can't sit here and tell you that I was a good trainer. I don't think I really was. I think I was a good salesperson, and I think I was a better manager, and I think I
Mhm.
was a pretty decent closer, but I never thought of myself as a good trainer. But towards the end of my career, if I would hire somebody that was really green, what I would do is I would have them sit in my office with me
Yeah.
all day and
Yeah.
watch me desk deals with the
Yeah.
salespeople all day long.
That's good.
And I would ask them, okay, what did you see with this deal we were trying to put together? And eventually they would be able to say, well, you asked the same questions every time to every salesperson about that salesperson's customer.
Mhm.
So there must be something in those questions that you're asking that's the information you need to be able to get to figure out the right path to
Yeah.
be able to make a card. Because I used to tell my salespeople, if you can't answer questions like, gee, what kind of car does your customer want? How much money does your customer have to put down? What's their budget that they've set aside on a monthly? If
Yeah.
you can't answer any of these questions, I'm like a GPS system.
Yeah.
And if you don't put in any information into the GPS system, well, then the likelihood of it getting you from point A to whatever point B was supposed to be pretty damn remote. It would just, if it happened, it would be pure luck. And that's what I felt like if I asked those questions and I couldn't get any input from salespeople as to some of the, because you've gotta fit it all together. It's like a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. Did you guys go through a lot of sales reps at that store, or?
Um, well, you always go through a certain number of sales reps. Well, I worked for the Penske organization for quite some time, and one of the things about Mr. Penske is he doesn't like turnover. And the
Okay.
one thing about the car business is there's typically a
Yeah.
lot of turnover at a
Yeah.
dealership.
Yeah.
And so it was, we adopted the practice of love the ones you're with. In
Yeah.
other words, if you saw enough in somebody to hire them, it
Yeah.
was your job to pull out of them what it was that you saw.
Yeah.
And you didn't give them just 30 days or 60 days or 90 days. Even if you spent a year and a half trying to pull it out of them, that's what you did. You loved
Yeah.
who you were with, and you worked with them to get them up to the level that you thought you saw when you interviewed them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have turnover almost at all here. Like, a lot of the staff, sales, service, accounting, they've been here pretty much since we opened in '06. Like,
Okay.
like a lot of us, like, we have sales rep turnover, but like 10% of our sales staff is turned over here and there. But a
Yes.
lot of our guys have been here for 10, 12, 15 years. It's actually very different here. Yeah.
Well, and it makes it easier to manage.
It does. It does, because you know everyone, you know their mentalities, you know how they work, you know how they quote, and it just becomes a heck of a lot easier. Yeah, yeah.
Eh, Let me ask you a silly question, and
Hmm.
and you'll find out during the course of an hour that, well, most of the questions I'm going to ask are silly.
I love that.
Um, but what did your parents think when you said to them, "Mom, Dad, I'm going to sell cars for a living"? Were they disappointed?
No, no. To be honest, I remember driving down the street where our store is,
Uh-huh.
and I had already applied. And my dad looked at the store, and I was in his car with him. He had a 92 Mercedes at the time, really cool mint green car. And he looked at the store and he said, "Wow," he's like, "That's the place." He's like, "You're gonna do well here. Don't worry." Because I think he could sense I was a little bit nervous.
Uh-huh.
And just to put a little cherry on top of this whole question, when I had left what I was doing to come here in this business, I was actually working with my parents at a
Okay.
family-owned restaurant
Okay.
for like 6, 7 years already. I started working when I was like 13, 14, and they had this family restaurant that we were all working at. And I left there when I was around 19, 20 to come here in this
Yeah.
business. So were they disappointed? No, but I was nervous as hell because I'm thinking, here I am. I dropped out of my only college program that I tried.
Uh-huh.
Luckily, we got a refund though. um, Dropped out of my only college program. I'm gonna leave a family business where I kind of have whatever freedom I want to have because it's my
Mm-hmm.
own family business to go into a place where I may not get paid.
Yeah, great.
So, right?
That's a
Like
leap
if you
of faith.
summarize it, so like
Yeah.
I was scratching my head, how am I going to tell them? What am I going to say? But they were okay. Like listen, I was like 20, man. What did
Yeah.
I have? A phone bill to pay for? Like it was okay. That to me was the right time to try it, and I'm lucky I did. I'm happy I did. But no, they weren't disappointed. No, no.
Were you I know when I got involved in sales, it freaked me out because I was, you might find this hard to believe, but I was rather introverted when I
Okay.
was younger. Um,
Okay.
I could be a class clown. I could make people laugh as a way to at least get them to sort of kind of like me. Well, that
Yeah.
Raymond's pretty funny, um, but I lacked any type of confidence, and being introverted, I was getting married in like 2 months, and I needed a job, you know.
Okay.
And I got involved in car sales, and I wasn't sure how I was ever going to be able to do it because I wasn't like, hey, let me go out and when you were a kid, when you were in your teens working in your family restaurant,
Yeah.
did you have a lot of interaction with customers in the restaurant? I mean, were you a gregarious young man, or were
I
you?
was to myself, man. I still am. Like publicly, I've opened up a bit just because you evolve over time as a person. Like I've got
Mhm.
the YouTube channel. People know me. People know my name. I'm in this business now for 16 years. But when I see an opportunity that I don't need to speak to someone,
Uh-huh.
I won't speak to someone. like
Gotcha.
I know people who are very bubbly and very open and 10-foot rule, they walk within 10 feet of someone and they start a conversation or hey, how's it going? Like I'm kind of the opposite. Not rude about it, but like
Mhm.
I'm a little bit more not maybe shy. Maybe you can say on the shy side. Like there's a little bit of a
Mhm.
shyness about me that I think if you can compare me against other people, I'm probably more of a shyer, more timid person.
Yeah, because
Surprisingly.
I know it surprised my wife that
Yeah.
in the store I was I was
Yeah.
loud and boisterous, and I would put on a show
Yeah.
for the staff and for customers because I wanted people to laugh and I wanted them to have a good time. Um,
Yeah.
but if we went to a party and if I didn't really know a lot of people at the party, I was the quiet guy in the corner, not the loud guy that was
Yeah.
trying to attract all the attention. I didn't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just wanted to be left alone. And I carried that, I want to say, deep into my 30s.
Yeah.
And
Well, you're
now,
only 40 now, aren't you? Aren't you
yeah, I
like
wish. Uh, and now, it's virtually impossible to get me to shut the hell up.
yeah.
It's amazing how we change. I think I went from an introvert to I am a little bit of an extrovert.
Yeah.
And I guess I relish being. What's really funny? Um, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a stand-up comic.
You know what? I had thoughts of that. I had visions of that too, man. When I was younger, maybe before my teen years, I very closely lived up to what's his name there, Jim Carrey.
Uh huh.
He's from Canada, right? And like, man, same thing. I was always the funny kid in the family who would always crack a joke.
Uh
And they would
huh.
say, "Oh, you're gonna be a comedian. You're gonna be a comedian." I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna be a comedian. but but it was literally just that. Like, I never tried to pursue that or anything like that, right? But that's yeah, man, interesting. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a stand-up comic, um, and yet I was shy. So that this concept in my mind of being a shy, quiet person, but yet I wanted to go up on stage and make people laugh. I mean the two typically don't go together.
No,
But if you study a lot of comedians, you'll find out that so many of them are indeed shy, quiet people, and
yeah,
this is just a way for them to get out of that shell.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. That's exactly it.
yeah, I mean that I even tried it. Now my brother, who you don't know, Uncle Kenny, but he's a wonderful guy. He's going to be 81 in November, and Uncle Kenny, um, he's funny. He writes funny. He's witty, and he actually did stand up for a number of years. Never got paid, but he
Okay.
did it. He went to and he is. I mean, he's going to be 81. He's never been married. He's been living by himself since my parents passed away. I mean, he's very unto himself, but yet he
Hmm.
would put himself out and go on stage several times a week, never getting paid. And so one night I said, "Well, I'm going to do it." And we were living in the Atlantic City area at the time, and the club that we were going to perform in was in Wilmington, Delaware. So it was like I don't know, a 2 hour drive or an hour and a
Mm.
half drive from where I lived to get to this club where you're given 5 minutes.
Oh
And
wow.
my brother was funny. He was funny. And I got up there. Now we didn't. I forget what his stage name was, but mine was Ray Allen. And I used to tell everybody I was the son that Woody Allen didn't know he had. And and I was given 5 minutes to make a fool of myself,
Oh man.
and I did it in well under 30 seconds. And I could feel the flop sweat starting on my forehead, and
That's
my
tough.
legs were getting shaky, and I was looking for a chair, and there was no chair or stool or anything on the stage, so I just sat the fuck down.
No kidding. No kidding, eh?
Honest to God, yeah. And I did 5 minutes, and that was it. I never did it again. All my performances took place in the showroom where I felt comfortable.
Yeah, at least
Yeah.
you can say you tried it.
Yeah, yeah, I
That's a tough
did.
gig, man. That's a tough
Oh,
gig.
because it seemed so easy to me when the customer was on one side of the desk and I was on the other side of the desk, and I could make them laugh and I could carry. But man, you put me in front of people I don't know who
No.
weren't trying to buy a car. I wasn't
Yeah.
funny at all.
No, you've got a heck of a lot less control in that situation. Yeah.
Yeah, I I
Yeah.
I figured if I was going to be successful at it, I would have needed a desk and some car
Yeah.
brochures, and and
Change your stage name.
yeah, and then maybe it would have worked out. So so back when you were 19 or 20, you thought
Okay.
to yourself, this guy's going to give me a shot in sales. I've never
Yeah.
really sold anything in my life.
Hmm.
Um, what prompted you to say, there's no guarantees. They're not giving me. There's no. What prompted you to say? I think I'll do this. I think I know you only had a cell phone bill, but still.
Oh, I know, and like it was scary for me too because I didn't own a suit. Like maybe I owned one suit. I'm like, okay, I got to wear a suit every day. That's not cool for me
Yeah.
at that time, right? Um, it was scary. I really kept trying to get out of our GM at the time if there's any way for me to have a guaranteed pay. But I started in April, and here in Canada, you get your tax returns around that time.
Okay.
So I knew I'd be starting, potentially not making anything for a month, 2 months, 3 months, but I knew that I'd have some tax return money coming to me from 2007. So
Okay.
say, you know what? I'm going to try it. I'll be fine. I'll have money because I've got some money coming from somewhere. And if I'm not fine, well, then I'll just pull out and go back to my parents' restaurant and it'll be like nothing ever happened. So I developed in my head a safety blanket, kind
Okay.
of, and kind of like a fallback plan. And at the time, my girlfriend, who's my now wife, was working at an Audi store down the street from us.
Okay.
And every once in a while, I would hear she was working, I think, as reception or something at the time. And every once in a while, I'd hear from her a story of how, this sales lady or this sales guy sold this and this, and they make this much money. And it's like, and you only hear the good parts. So in your head, you're like, oh, wow, that sounds really cool.
Sure.
Right. So all these little things played a role and a factor, but yeah, it's not easy, man. It wasn't easy. The first 2 months, I didn't sell a car. I don't think I sold a car in the first 3 months.
Oh my
If I got to
goodness.
tell you, yeah, like it was tough. It was tough.
What kind of restaurant did your parents have, or do they still have
We
that
had,
restaurant?
yeah. So my father's been in the restaurant business since he came to Canada in 1979 or something like that.
Wow.
And he had a fine dining restaurant in the city, but he then left that and we opened up a fast food Italian style establishment, like kind
Uh,
of like a fine dining quick serve thing.
Okay.
Local, yeah, really good stuff, mostly Italian cuisine. But that was also hard. If anyone who's watching or listening ever worked in the restaurant business, you know that if you can work in the restaurant business, you can do anything because that is one stressful industry.
Yeah, that was one of the things Justice and I were having this conversation a little while ago. Um, I always love to hire for sales
Hmm.
people that had worked in the restaurant business,
Yeah.
because if you said to somebody, well, the shifts are usually, I don't know, 10 to 12 hours long, they'd look at you and go, that's all?
Oh yeah.
Because in the restaurant business, people are working 15, 18-hour
Oh
days.
yeah.
So,
Late.
yeah, so if you said to somebody, yeah, it's a 10-hour shift, they go, okay, I'm in, let's do this.
You know,
It didn't
yeah.
seem like a lot of time.
It's the restaurant industry is nearly an abusive industry because it can be so bad if it's a busy place. I used to work at a place part time. Actually, you guys might have it there, Montana's. Do you guys have a Montana's there? You might
I
have a Montana's.
I doesn't ring a bell to me, but then
Okay.
again,
Mainly it was US based, but
okay,
this was years ago. Our poor guy who was washing dishes, we used to have a dishwasher guy or team, whatever, right? It used to get so bad that they would throw the dishes in the garbage.
wow,
Be- because they just couldn't do it. Like the guy's hands were like the skin was gonna fall off on his freaking fingers,
oh my
you
goodness,
know. And he's there, and it's like 11 o'clock at night, and they're still piling through all these dishes, and like all you hear is like dishes getting thrown into the garbage, and it's like, and I'm working in the kitchen, I'm just like turning the other way. I'm like, oh boy,
my goodness, that
yeah,
that doesn't even sound remotely like fun, but that
no,
that
no.
that had to sound more successful than working at a Toyota store as a salesperson for 3 months and not having sold a car.
Yeah, yeah. The biggest push was like I was stuck because I knew what I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you don't know what you want to do, but you know what you don't want to do, it helps. And I knew that
Yes.
I didn't want to be in the restaurant business, like for life. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And the fact that I was in it and I was, at 18, 19, you got a lot of pressure from outside, from your friends, from your previous school. It's like, okay, what are you going to do with your life when really
Yeah.
it's way too early to know? I'm like, okay, I gotta get out. I gotta get out of this restaurant business because if not, I'm gonna get sucked in. And I almost did get sucked in. So here
Do
I am.
you remember who your first customer was that you sold a car to? And
I
if you
remember,
do,
yes.
Are they still your customer?
Yes, I remember his first name, his last name, how to spell it, what he looked like, how old he was, where he was standing, what he came in with, what I sold him. I probably remember the price too. It's nuts. It's just engraved in my head. He was here with a folding bicycle in his
Wow.
hand.
Okay.
Yeah, a folding bicycle. I don't know if he wrote it in here or he was in for service and just had it. He didn't come in to buy a car, according to him. And I sold him a car that I had no idea. I didn't even know I sold it to him. Like that's like, like the manager's like, okay, so here's the paper. So go have him sign it. I'm like, is this it? Did I just do that? Did I do what I did I do it? Like, is this what I have? Right? He's like, yeah. This was in 2008, and that was a different, way different market. Um, Discount was a huge topic. Negotiation was a huge topic.
Sure.
And this guy literally just did what I told him to do. He paid the price. He picked up the vehicle in a couple of days, and he's still our customer. And we still talk to this day when I see him in service.
Does does he
Yeah.
know that he was your first sale ever?
Yes, yes, and I think that might be what helped, what helped, what helped the situation. So we have some sales reps here that have been here for like 3 years, 4 years,
Yeah.
and we still tell them to let the customer know you're new,
Yeah.
because sometimes, I mean, you know it, I know it. There's this preconceived notion on sales and auto dealerships about that we're apparently bad, but we're not. So sometimes when the sales rep says they're new, the customer just calms down a bit, right?
And
Yeah.
the customer figures if you're new, instead of you being able to take advantage of them, they're they're thinking the possibility exists that they might be able to take advantage of you.
Yeah, yes, for sure. And I never understood that. I never understood, um, like I guess what before I was in the business, I thought the same thing. But then
Hmm.
going into the business, I'm like, okay, these people aren't bad, right? Like it's just regular retail business, selling something, making a profit, making a commission, just like anything else. I still can't put my finger on what it is that there's this preconceived thing that we're just like monsters. That's just definitely not, like, don't get me wrong, there probably is some out there or some stores that are like that, but
Hmm.
for the most part, it's a pretty clean industry. Like, I don't know.
Well, I've worked with some monsters.
No,
Not
they're out there. They're
Yeah,
out there.
yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
not necessarily by choice.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think what customers are afraid of is that they perceive that your only job is to separate them from their money and have them pay the most possible for something when the customer really wants to pay the least possible. And in reality, all the salesperson typically wants to do is figure out how to sell a car because, as you know, you're not getting paid until you sell one.
Yeah, yeah, no, 100%, 100%. And it's like I said, it's unfortunate. I mean, some of these guys come in on their day off. Some of these guys work on Sundays, like just to make it happen. And
Yeah.
whether it means the sale, whether it means the delivery of the cut of the vehicle. Like I know a lot of industries that, hey, I work until 4:30. If you come at 4:31, I can't talk to you. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
that doesn't exist in this business. So I think we're very customer orientated.
I well, on the sales side, dealerships are in the sense that they'll stay open as long as it takes to sell another car. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know how that got ingrained in managers and salespeople's minds. The store hours might be 9 in the morning till 9 at night, and if a customer shows up even at a couple minutes after 9 and all the doors aren't locked yet, salesperson will welcome them in and try and figure out how to sell them a car, even
Yeah.
though you could be closed.
Yeah.
Um, and I think part of that stems from the fact that a bird in hand is worth more than two in the bush, in the sense that if you close a deal, it's a done deal, and you don't have to. You're still not searching for that deal the next day.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. At our store, though, we work the entire opposite way. And it's nothing against the customer. So I've been here since 2008, and I found that there's a pattern that the last minute deals you do, which are typically at or just after closing,
Mm-hmm.
there's always a problem with them. Either the customer felt rushed, or they actually came in for one car and then they ended up with another car, or they wanted to cancel the next day,
Mm-hmm.
or they were a tough approval. Like, usually those last minute deals we found were not worth it. So what we do here is at like 10 to closing, like let's say we close at 5 on a Friday, which we close at 5 on a Friday, by like a quarter to 5, as managers and even as sales staff,
Mm-hmm.
we'll make sure that all of our ducks are accounted for and everything's in the basket already. And like, because, with all due respect, we've been here already since nine
Yeah, no,
o'clock, right? Like,
absolutely.
right. And even for the customer too, with all due respect to the customer, we don't want to say, if it takes you an hour and a half to buy a vehicle, I need to cut you down to 30 minutes, because that's not right either. That's
No.
that's not fair either. They're spending 30, 40, 50, $80,000. So we typically book them in for the following day or following week, and we give it the proper time it needs, which I think is the right way to handle it.
Well, yeah, because it is, if for somebody to actually understand every aspect of the transaction and to make sure that they understand the vehicle that it is that they're buying takes time, does take some time. Now, let me get back to your first 3 months in the business, because
Hmm.
you've gone a little over 3 months to finally sell a car. Um, at that rate, you can't make a living.
No.
So when did it, at what point did it click where
Hmm.
you started selling cars, a greater number of cars in a month, and then I want to tie that in with what's the best month you as an individual had as a salesperson?
Cool. Yeah. So it took very soon after. So my first sale was probably in I think it would have been June or July, which would have been this first customer. And
Okay.
then I would say probably by fall of that year, so fall of 2008, it had already snowballed to, a regular relatively consistent income and delivery rate of, I don't know, you can say anywhere from a bad month of 8,
Okay.
9 to a good month of 15, 16. It was usually around that. Yeah.
Now, I don't know what the pay is like in Canada, but
Hmm.
salespeople used to say, when somebody wanted to become a salesperson, they used to say, "Well, how much can I make?"
Hmm.
And I used to explain to potential salespeople that between your commission that the dealership would pay you
Yeah.
and any factory spiffs that you might get,
Mm.
um, when the factory ran programs for the salespeople, that on average it works out to about $500 a car that you get compensated for every car you sell. So if you sell 12 cars, 5 times 12 is, you're going to make about $6,000.
Hmm.
Is,
Hmm.
is does it correlate in those terms in Canada as well, or is it a little higher, a
Well,
little lower?
are we talking about from back in '08, or are we
Or,
talking about like relatively now?
well, let's talk pre-COVID and then post-COVID. Right,
Okay, so
right
yeah.
before, let's say 2019.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
what was an average commission? And I know you're going to talk to me in Canadian dollars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so what would an average commission have been, say, back in 2019?
So on average commission back in 2019, keep in mind there's no real manufacturer payout or anything like that to the sales rep anyways. I would say on a new vehicle, you're probably averaging uh 2019. I would say in and around the 400 mark.
Okay,
Yeah.
so not that much different than here.
Not much difference.
Yeah.
No, no, but keep in mind that's average. So that means
Yes,
some
yes.
commissions were 150,
No,
250.
I get it. I get it.
Some were 7, 650. So it was usually like all over the map.
Yes, no, of course it is. But when push comes to shove and you look at the size of your paycheck at the end of the month, it's going to average out
Yeah.
to $400, or here it was about
Yeah.
$500, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Now, today, with the world being what it is, especially at a Toyota store where we know that you're not getting nearly as much inventory as you would like, but you're getting every penny for the inventory you are getting.
Yeah.
What would an average commission be today?
It's close to doubled, I would say. And that's due to a bunch of different factors, mainly the way we do business, mainly the percentage of profit that's in the vehicles has changed. We have more to choose from in terms of selection and grades. A lot of the customers are buying the higher grade stuff as well. That plays a role into it. Back years and years and years ago, you know, we used to sell a lot of LE grade vehicles, which is your
Yes.
entry level Toyota.
Yes.
For whatever reason, I don't know. We just sell a lot of those. Even the Corollas, we sell the LE grades. It's just gone nuts. Like people have really, customers and consumers have really realized that they want the best. And like we're selling a lot of fully loaded stuff. Like we're selling a lot of Platinum Highlanders,
Wow.
limited RAV4s, XSE Corollas, and these things come with a higher price tag. They also come with a higher profit margin. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know what I never asked you, and
Yeah.
I'd be curious to know.
Mm.
Do you have any kids?
3 kids.
Oh my God.
I'm a busy guy.
You apparently boys, girls, all
I
girls, all
have 2
boys.
girls.
Yes.
I have an almost 8-year-old, an almost 5-year-old, and a 2-year-old boy.
Oh my goodness, that'll keep you
Yeah.
busy.
It's very busy, man. Yeah.
Do you get to spend as much time with them as you would like being in the car business?
You know what? My answer should be no,
Okay.
but this is not a, I'm gonna say the word bias. Bias isn't the right word. No. Ass kissing? No, that's not the right word either. I have the most amount of respect for the company I work for, the Zenkin
Okay.
Automotive Group in Maple Toyota, and I'll tell you why. It'll lead up to that. So I had my first child in 2015.
Okay.
Everything was cool. It was just us 3, my wife, myself, and my oldest daughter. And then we had our second child in 2019, and I said, "Ooh, it's getting tough to work these hours. I'm starting to sweat here
Yeah.
now." And like my wife's like, "Hey, I need help." Like, right? Like,
Sure.
see what you got to do, man, right? And I was feeling the pressure. And then we had our third in 2021, and it hit hard, like hard. I'm like, okay. We sat down and we're like, okay, something's got to happen, because I was working 2 days a week, bell to bell.
Gotcha. Okay.
So you'd open at 9, so you'd be there like 8:30, and you'd close at 9 or 8, because
Yeah.
after COVID we changed our closing hours to 8 p.m. instead of 9. But still, you wouldn't get out till
Yeah.
almost 9, right?
Exactly.
And I literally, I'd go home and like we'd be like snapping at each other, and like the kids will be going crazy, and it's like, okay, what do I do, man? So I sat down with my GM, who I've worked with since the beginning, and I said, look, do whatever you want to do with me, do whatever it is. I can't be here past 5-6 o'clock. I can't be here. Anyways, back and forth. We made it happen. We made it work out. So I'm still here doing what I'm doing. I'm able to leave in a time where I can still go home, be with the family, be with the kids, help out the wife, help out the kids. They have homework. They got to go to tutor, whatever it is. So that's like, I'm grateful for that, because there's not a lot of, I don't think there's any manager or sales or desking manager in the business that they're able to like not work at night.
Yes.
Or close, right? Like that's a big deal, and I know that, and I don't take it for granted. So I just give that all up to Maple Toyota.
Oh my! You have the most understanding boss that you could
Yeah.
ever hope to have.
Oh yeah. 100%. You know what? I gotta be honest. They probably see it in my eyes because I've been here since '08, and it's a genuine reason and it's a genuine concern. And I mean, the alternative realistically is I'd have to leave. Like
Yeah,
I'd have to. It wouldn't be sustainable long term to still be working until 9 o'clock at night with the family I have. It just wouldn't
sure.
be. So I think they see it, I see it, and I still get done what I have to do in the time that I'm here. So that's important. That's what counts.
You have no idea. Well, let me rephrase. You do have an idea. You
Oh yeah.
are so fortunate
Yeah.
because 20 years ago in the car business, they would have laughed at you if
Oh, I
you would have
know.
said, I need to get home to my family." Yeah, you
Oh, I
will.
know.
You
Oh,
will.
I know. Yeah,
9:30,
you
10
will.
o'clock at
Yeah.
night. You tell your
Yeah.
wife how to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I know I missed so many things in my life because we just didn't have, we weren't given the time to actually be with our families.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a
I'll never.
demanding industry. It's a
Oh,
demanding industry.
it eats people up and
It
chews
eats
them
you
out.
up, man.
Yeah, and I remember when the people that I last worked for, every year at Christmas time, the owner would take his immediate family um, for a vacation to the islands,
Mm-hmm.
one of the islands, for because it was before Christmas and they wanted it to be nice and warm and wonderful. And so one year when they're away at the mini store, I redid salespeople's hours, and because the people I worked for always thought, well, everybody should work open to close most days,
Yeah.
and so I redid the schedule so that nobody worked open to close, other than on Saturday when we came in for our Saturday morning sales meeting,
Yeah.
and the store closed at 6 o'clock on Saturday. That was your only open to close.
Yeah.
And I sent out the schedule in an email, and I included the ownership and his family in it, and I got an email back. Says, "Ray, there's a problem with the schedule." I said, "What's that?" He said, "Well, there's no bell to bells for the salespeople." And my response was, "Well, you show me where it's written that there has to be."
Yeah.
And well, it always has. I said, "I don't care that it always has been. Why does it have to be? Why do you want your staff that has to sell cars, that has to greet your customers? Why do you want them worn out and burn out when they're talking to your customers? Why
Yeah.
why shouldn't we try and keep them fresh?" And well, because we don't do it like that. Well, I have a great idea. Let's try it for a while.
Yeah.
And to this day, they still don't work any bell to bells at that store.
That's
Um,
good.
yeah,
That's good. That's good.
it's those little incremental changes that you can make.
Yeah.
Now, the same didn't hold true for me.
Yeah.
They expected me there. Well, you're a manager, damn it. Okay,
Well,
whatever. But yeah, you are just, I can't tell you how lucky you are.
it's a rare opportunity, man. It really is. It's quite rare. And I went into it talking with these guys, not knowing if they'd be okay with it or not. But I'm like, you know what? I'm here. I've been here for this long. I got to talk to them because
Sure.
it's an issue. It's an issue. So luckily,
What type of schedule do your salespeople work?
we don't. I don't think we used to have bell to bell. I don't
Yeah.
think we do anymore. So my guys are on a 8:45 to 5:45
Okay.
or an 11 until 8. They
Okay.
rotate. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is what we did. We used
Yeah.
to do 8 to 4
Yeah.
and or noon to 8.
Yeah. Yeah. Saturdays we're here 8:30 in the morning. We do our same thing. We have our
Yeah.
sales meeting in the morning. We're out here. We're out of here by 5:30 or so on Saturday. Sunday we're closed. Yeah.
Do you do the sales meetings?
I do the sales meetings actually. Yeah, I do. I do the sales meetings usually 60% of the time.
I'll never forget. I for most of my career, I did the sales meetings on Saturdays,
Mm-hmm.
and I was in the business for 43 years, so
Wow.
I did a lot of sales meetings, and sometimes I used to just get like these blank stares feedback from the salespeople. And one Saturday, I looked at them all and I said, "I'm sorry. You try and come up with something fresh every damn Saturday. Every Saturday, I'm here trying to get you pumped up and excited, or trying to teach you a little something."
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, once a month, one Saturday a month, I'm going to appoint one of you to actually do the sales meeting, because I got tired of trying to figure out how to make it fun and exciting every Saturday morning.
I know it's a lot.
Has your store improved its training for salespeople? Or do you just, at this point, do you just rely on, since you don't go through a lot of sales staff, do you just rely on the Toyota training that they do, the manufacturer training that they do?
Yeah, we don't really sublet out anymore like we used to pre-COVID to that trainer. Having the fact that we don't have a lot of turnover helps a lot.
Sure.
We rely heavily on the Toyota training, and we rely heavily on in-house training from us and our other sales staff. Like, our team is so good in the sense where they're so like open arms. Like, we have some go-to guys that will say, "Hey, listen, sit with this guy for the day. He's going to show you everything you can do," and they'll do that. Or we'll have them shadow someone on a delivery. Like the training is pretty good here, considering the lack of available proper training for the industry.
If this hadn't have worked out, and I know you thought yourself way back when, well, if it doesn't work, I'll just go back to my family's restaurant. Let's say your family's restaurant wouldn't have been an option. If this hadn't have worked out, what do you think you might have done instead?
Man, I don't know. You know what? I think it's a good thing I don't know. Because it means I never contemplated it, right? Boy, oh boy, oh boy. That's really all I knew, man. That's all I knew. I only knew the restaurant business. So education wasn't a big thing for me at all. I would have ended up, just to give you a proper answer, I would have ended up in some other industry, working at the bottom, and eventually moving my way up. Which reality is, that's kind of what I did here. I started in that, you know what I mean? Like, I came in as a mechanic, wanted to do that, started in sales, and moved up from there. And by the way, between sales and where I'm at now, I stopped over at fleet manager, and then stopped over at leasing manager, and then became sales manager. So I probably would have ended up in some other industry, started out at this, entry level, and then worked up from there. But what industry? I have no idea.
So if I did my math correct, you're about 35, 36?
I just turned 37.
37.
Yes.
How much longer do you see yourself doing this?
So how much
you're a
longer
young
do you
man.
see? Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm not young, but I'm not old. Yeah.
No, come on, man. I'm 72. You are not.
Come on.
You are a young man.
Listen, we've got a 77-year-old sales rep here who's been here since the beginning. He still comes in and pumps out 10, 12, 15 a month. So, I mean, 70 is nothing, man. I don't. So, if you have to ask me how long do I think you see me in the industry, I think indefinitely, to some capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah, indefinitely to some capacity.
So you could see yourself doing this 30 years from now.
I can, in the industry, in hopefully in this place, in this dealership, and in this group, just because it's been so good to me. Like, it's been like, how can I, like, I almost feel like it's my girlfriend or my wife, and it's like, how can I betray it when it's done? You know what I mean? How can you slap the hand that feeds you, is the saying that you want to maybe use. It's done nothing wrong to me, so I wouldn't leave to pursue something else. I think I would leave because I'm just done. How much longer do I see myself in the position I am? I'm not sure.
Does the opportunity exist? Do you think that maybe some point in time you could end up being the general manager of that store? Or
I wouldn't want
in
to.
one of their others, you wouldn't want to?
No, I
Why?
wouldn't want to. No. Sorry?
Why?
Why? Because as selfish as this may seem, I like the feeling of being able to go home
Uh-huh.
and shut it off.
Gotcha.
And I know that at certain positions you can't do that. It doesn't work that way. There are certain positions where you are the store. Like Sundays, whatever, what something happens, it's you, right? And I still, my wife always says to me, "Why are you emailing? You're at home. Why are you on your phone?" Well, because like
Yeah.
I'm loyal. I'm loyalist to the brand and to the place. And if there's something that has to get taken care of that I have to deal with, I'll deal with it. Whether it's a
Yes.
Sunday or whether it's 10 o'clock at night. But when you have the umbilical cord of being a general manager, that's a different level. And I know if I put my head to it, I can do it. But I
Uh-huh.
don't think I'd want to do it.
You don't think you'd want all the responsibility that comes with it?
No, no,
Hmm.
no, no. So this is me speaking right now at
Yes.
37 years old with three young kids that I have to be there for and take here and take there. Can this perception change in 10 years? Absolutely. I'll be at a different stage of my life in 7 to 10 years where if you ask me that, I'll probably say, yeah, I'll go for it, or I'm going for it, or I am the GM or whatever. But right now, I just don't see it. I don't see it. No,
That's
no.
fair enough.
Like if you think about it, I actually stepped back a little bit in terms of what I'm doing because of the hours, right?
Yes.
So going for something like a GM, no,
Yeah,
no
because
thanks.
that typically requires more hours.
You know what? Yes, at our store, we, like I said before, with regards to closing and taking customers at closing, we respect everyone's time. So
Uh-huh.
here, the GM doesn't necessarily work more hours. He just works a lot smarter, and
Uh-huh.
he definitely oversees like everything, right? So I just don't think I'll be able to zone in on that anytime soon.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
I've done the general manager role, and it's a giant pain in the
It's just a
yeah.
huge undertaking. It really is.
Well, because you're responsible for the whole thing, the
Yeah.
whole kit and caboodle, not just, as a sales manager, you're responsible for, well, figuring how to sell a vehicle.
Yeah.
Typically,
Yeah.
if you're the general manager, you're responsible for figuring how to sell vehicles. You're responsible for figuring how to get parts and service to do more than they have.
Yeah.
Um, you're
Body
responsible.
shop. We have a body shop.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. It's everything.
It's never ending. It is absolutely never ending.
Yeah.
It sounds like you lead a pretty busy life
I do.
between your
I do.
work and your family and your
Yeah.
three kids,
And the
um,
YouTube channel.
and your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
How much time off do you get as far as vacation time?
So we get 3 weeks. After
Okay.
10 years of employment, you get 3 weeks, which really is 15 days. But in honestly speaking, I've already eaten into my 3 weeks vacation probably by July of this year. I already chewed it all up.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I still take my days off in terms of vacation days when I need them. The company's good that way. I mean, if you still need time off, need time off. So, rule of thumb, it's always 3 weeks, but if it ends up to be 3.5 or maybe 4, that's okay too. You just gotta be smart about it, and you don't want to say anything last minute like, "Hey, I need the week off next week." That's not
Yeah.
cool, right?
That's not going to. No, that doesn't fly.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Final question.
Tell me.
Uh, they say to you, Marcello, we want you to take a month off. You're going to get paid for that month. We just want you to spend a month with your wife and your children, but you can't spend it at home. Where are you going?
I can't spend it at home.
No, you've got to take your wife and your kids somewhere other than your house. You're not allowed to spend it there.
Are
What
we
is
allowed
it?
to cross the border?
You're allowed to go anywhere. You can go anywhere. What is it that you'd want your wife and your kids to be able to do or see?
You know what? I'd probably say we'd probably end up on some. So nowhere in Europe. Nowhere in Europe, because Europe is a lot of walking.
Yes.
A lot of walking. Nothing's really all inclusive, which is a big no-no for us. We'd end up at some Caribbean place with very hot white sand, an all-inclusive place. Maybe not for the whole month, but you know what? Actually, I'm going to backtrack.
Okay.
We'd probably go to Hawaii. So we went to Hawaii for our honeymoon,
Okay.
and we did a almost 4 week thing. So that takes up your month that you're
Wow.
offering me.
Yeah.
And we just hit every island. We just did like one was the Big Island, and then one was Maui, and then you know what I mean. And
Uh-huh.
you take your time there, 1 week at a time. You do like, I don't know, the flight from one island to the next was like nothing. Like it was like
Sure.
20 minutes, right? We'd probably do that. We'd probably do that. I think we'd do
Well,
that.
well, I want you to talk to your employer and see if you can figure out how to make that happen.
I don't know, man. I'm already at the end of the slack rope with them for the
There's
closing situation, so maybe not.
there's always next year.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's always next year. How long have you been married?
I've been married for 10 years.
There's
And I'll
always
and I'll
next year.
and I'll tell you something. A month off, and you'll know this too, because you've been in the business for a long time. A month off isn't good.
Yeah,
A month off
that's
isn't
true.
good because when you got to get back to it, it's very difficult to get back to it. Not because you don't like the place or whatever, but it's very difficult to get back into the motions of working a deal, or like you forget all your passwords. It's like, okay, where do I sit? Like a month is a long time, man. I don't even know if I could do a month. I think I could push it to like 2.5 weeks, and then
Okay, well,
I got to come back in here to make sure like I still remember stuff.
fair enough.
Yeah,
Marcello, I can't thank you enough for being
cool,
part of
man.
this week's show.
Very
I
good.
hope you had as much fun as I did.
Very interesting. I did. Thank you, Ray. Yes,
Yeah, and you're welcome back anytime.
we'll do that.
Yeah, you know where to find us, and we know where to find you. And do me a favor, give your wife and your kids a great big kiss and hug from me when you get
Yes,
home
I will
tonight.
do that. And I will
Terrific.
show them the entire thing.
Please do.
All
Thanks
right.
again, Marcello.
Okay, guys. Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks, Ray.
yep.